What's up? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I am Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me we have some more RPG horror stories. If I could ever achieve doing a collab with somebody like Crispy's Tavern, Crit Crab, Dano the Dre, Crow's Perch, I think I'd be super happy. I feel like I would be super accomplished. I should probably have more goals than just that. I have a lot to think about this year and a lot of things to figure out what I want to look forward to. I look forward to just not going through hell, and if I can achieve that, I'll be super happy. But I should probably aspire for higher aspirations out there, you know? Stuff like that. Anyway, let's get to the first RPG horror story for today. My literal RPG nightmare. I've been DMing for almost 40 years. It's affected me so much that I literally DM my own dreams fairly often, adjusting the dream stories to make them more exciting. That's not always a good thing, because more exciting doesn't always mean more fun. But this was the first actual RPG nightmare I've had. So this is not an RPG nightmare that happened in real life. This is an RPG nightmare that happened in someone's dream. I don't know if it's... I mean, actually, you know what? It does perfectly count, technically and legally. It is an RPG horror story because it's a nightmare story. Let's read it anyway. For some reason, in the dream, I'd accidentally scheduled 2 game sessions with 2 different groups in 2 different places. I was quite looking forward to the new group, so I apologized to the old group and told them that I would run both games, running back and forth between the 2 locations. In the meantime, I asked them to use good sense and introduce the new players to the campaign. They seemed okay with it, so I ran to the new group and started the campaign. It went well. When I reached a good breaking point, I ran back to the first group. The new player was playing a level 1 cleric of Athena, and somehow he'd persuaded the other players that it was only logical for Athena to give all of their divine power to a starting cleric. I was absolutely horrified. The group had completely destroyed the campaign. That's when I woke up. Even in a dream, you can have a disaster that destroys a campaign. That's kind of funny. Not much of an RPG horror story, but a nightmare story. I kind of like these. Anyway, got a lot more RPG horror stories that happen in real life, so let's get to those as well. GM isn't a fan of short kings, I guess. Consider this story a little palate cleanser from some of the truly horrifying ones I've read on here recently. It's not something that I've lost sleep over, but I'd be lying if I said stuff like this doesn't make me hesitate to fully dive into the world of D&D as a player. As most of you, I've been regularly no-lifing Baldur's Gate 3 ever since it came out in early access, and it sparked my interest in joining an actual D&D session. I figured that it would do me good to broaden my social circle a little bit as well, since I've been pretty much talking to the same couple people for the past 3 to 4 years. Now, for someone like me with a chronic anxiety issue, pulling myself out there and actively looking for a group is already a huge step out of my comfort zone, coupled with the fact that while I'm confident in my storytelling abilities, I'm still pretty green when it comes to game mechanics. I figured the easiest way to learn would be for me to just take the plunge and join a game. And so I ended up finding a group on Discord that, at first glance, appeared to be exactly what I was looking for. Beginner-friendly, primarily EU-based, LGBTQ+ friendly. A good balance between combat and RP. All the good stuff. Not only that, but they were seemingly cool with teaching me as we went. With Session 0 scheduled for the upcoming weekend, the GM just asked that I pick a race, gave me a list of still available classes, and told me to come up with a backstory. Since it's my first time, I decided not to overthink it and went with a Halfling Ranger. Still available classes. Wait, is the GM like trying to make it so that like you can only pick like one class at a time and stuff? I don't know how I feel about that. Like if you have the still available classes, like if somebody picked up Barbarian, I guess nobody can play Barbarian. I get if you want to have like a nice spread of classes. I don't know, man. I feel like some exceptions can be made, especially with a new player. Let them try different things and stuff, you know? Whatever. People run their games however they want to. Let's continue. In chat, everybody was talking about how excited they were for the weekend and discussing their characters. Most seem to be playing some variation of an elf or some other conventionally attractive race. The reason why this is relevant is because when the GM asked me what I'll be playing, the reaction I got was completely different. Basically something along the lines of a halfling? Ew, why? The fugly as hell. Mind you, this was the GM and owner of the server telling me this, not some other random player. As to what that had to do with anything, she said that no NPC would be interested in a character like that and advised that I change it. Or you could just make NPCs that would be interested in a halfling? Who cares, dude? Who cares that everybody's not playing a pretty elf? Sometimes it's fine to play something that's not conventionally same. Dude, I want to be able to play as a Leonin or a Loxodon. I want to play one of the bestial races because I think they look cool, not because they're like unconventionally attractive and stuff. Listen, I get it. Elves are pretty, half-elves are pretty, tieflings can be pretty too. But your character could also be just just straight up fugly, or just straight up weird, or different. There's one character I want to try to make, a Lokatha. I want to make a Lokatha, the fish people. Clearly not attractive, but who cares, dude? Sometimes I don't care for how the character is attractive or not. I just want to make one for funsies. Apparently, a character's worth is entirely dependent on how bangable they are, and in her eyes, not making an attractive character was almost seen as weird. Like, if given the option, why wouldn't you? I said that I can if she insists, but I thought we were playing D&D, not a dating sim. For the record, I have no issue with people running whatever type of game they want, but nothing about the server's vibe indicated that it was that kind of game. Hell, some of the flavor images they used had halflings in them. Things got awkward after that. I guess once she realized that we weren't on the same wavelength, she pretty much ignored me and didn't seem too excited on showing me the ropes anymore, even after I offered to make a new character. I got the hint and left shortly after. Haven't bothered searching for another group since then. You know what's kind of weird, and it's just like a really just strange occurrence. We don't have that many stories about like inclusive like groups that don't really seem inclusive, but there are sometimes moments where you can have a story that's like new player friendly, you know, inclusive friendly. We include everybody in, except unless you play halflings. They're ugly. How dare you play halflings? We're not going to teach you then. That's just weird, man. Like, teach a player how to play. And there's nothing wrong if you want to play halflings. Short kings deserve love too. Short kings and short stacks deserve love too. If you want to play a stacked up shorty or a short king, you have every right to do so, and they deserve love as well. Anyway, kind of an anticlimactic RPG horror story, but yeah, point still stands. Short stacks and short kings deserve love too. Player quit after I refused to let him play with a character he rolled with cheat dice. Several years back, I took over a game from a friend of mine. He was extremely casual about everything and let the players get away with a lot. I suspected something was up when a player came up to me and said, "Hey, look at this character I rolled." Stats were 18, 18, 18, 16, 15, 14. He got offended when I expressed disbelief that he legitimately rolled that. Also, the old DM had apparently just let them roll and witness for each other. Now I suspect that the D6s being used were cheat dice, since they came up with a ridiculous amount of 6s in game. People wanted to roll with them, saying they were the lucky dice, or the players would use them, but the DM had a separate set. Dude, if you bring in cheat dice to freaking TTRPGs, why? You're ruining the experience for yourself. The randomness of the rolls is what makes it fun, or just do point buy, or a standard array. If you want to roll for stuff, do it fairly. Don't ruin it for yourself. Don't let the fun or randomness of the dice just be ruined by cheating. Now, I took over DMing and they continued the characters and campaign they had. But when it came time to start a new campaign, I expressed my dislike for a stat rolling system and said that after 9 years of DMing, I decided to stick to a point buy system only. I had many reasons for this, but the main one was fairness. I didn't like one person having a better character than another based on something as fickle as luck. As bummed as a few were, they all agreed, especially since I'd be allowing them the most points allowed. Then the wolf, as I'll call him, he was at the table with the other friends, who I'll call the samurai. He just rolled the dice and was exclaiming, "Yes, finally an 18!" While the samurai watched. He wrote on his paper and had 2 sets of stats written down. They looked like this: 18, 16, 16, 7, 7, 7, 18, 17, 17, 14, 13, 12. I looked at the first one and said, "You dumped it all into 3. Are you playing a fighter type?" He said, "Oh, I'm not using that." I asked, "Then how do you want to spend it?" "I'll help you." He said, "No, I wrote my character. Here it is," pointing at the second set. The samurai watched me. This was after I'd said I wouldn't be allowing rolled characters, and everyone, including him, had agreed. I said, "I told you, we're doing point buy." He responded, "I don't care. It's not enough. This is the character I rolled. The samurai watched me. This is what I'm using." I responded, "You can't play that." He retorted, "Either you let me play with this, or I won't play." He didn't play in the campaign. It's so funny when somebody like tries to act like a tough guy. "If you don't let me play with this dice set, my rolled stats that are clearly overpowered, then I just won't play." Okay. Hey, Bob over there, you wanna come play? Yeah, the Wolfman is not playing anymore apparently. You can take a spot. You want it? Yeah, come here, sit next to me. Like, you sound like such a idiot when you try to act like a tough guy in a TTRPG thing. If you won't let me play, then I won't play. Okay, that's fine. I'll just get somebody else to join in. There's not a lot of people that want to DM, but man, there are a ton of players. Gladly I'll play with somebody that wants to play instead of somebody that wants to have it his way or the highway, you know? Life is a highway. I'ma ride it all night long. While the wolf refused to play under me after that, we eventually did play together, but under the samurai in a homebrew Star Wars game that was really a hell of a lot of fun. When I started DMing early on, 3.5 was my first experience. I gave the characters all kinds of stuff. Monster races, high stats, magic items galore. It was fun, temporarily, like playing a game with cheat codes. When I decided to run a more balanced style, weaning them off of it was hard. Oh, and it was confirmed to me in the end, yes, they were cheat dice. Cheat dice suck, don't use cheat dice. Use real Chad dice, real normal Chad dice. Don't use crappy virgin cheat dice, but for real, don't cheat. Just don't. It just takes away all the fun from you. Sir Loveless just wanted one simple thing. That is the first time I've read here, and it isn't a very long story since the guy got booted after only 2 sessions, but I had to share this because it's still making me laugh. I joined this group through a D&D Discord server, and to my knowledge, none of the players or DM knew each other prior. The group consisted of DM, Knight, a male fighter with a knight background, Rogue, female tabaxi, Cleric, a female dwarf, Warlock, me. Meeting and speaking to the players went just fine, and I saw no real red flags going into it. The DM had an interesting idea for how to ease the characters into the campaign. He aimed to host a small adventure first, so everyone would get to know each other and how to work together before the big stuff, so we could start with a simple dungeon crawl. It's explained that we are adventurers that came together taking on this commission to stop some kobold necromancer causing a ruckus. Knight is using the retainer background feature, so he joined by 3 female attendants, one of which being a squire noble. Is this like a harem thing? Is that what's going on here? Before he even set foot inside the dungeon, the knight is already trying to flirt with one of his retainers. They're handled as NPCs, so DM is controlling them and plays them as not receptive to his advances. So she turns him down. Knight doesn't seem very happy about it, but he accepts the no. After a few battles with the undead, we are all battered enough to warrant a short rest before going up against the boss of the dungeon. During the rest, Knight is at it again, tries to flirt with her second retainer, but this time says things like, "Remember, you swore to serve me in any way I want." But the DM turns him down yet again and reminds him that the feature says they are free to leave and will if mistreated. Yep, the knight just wants to have a harem of babes. Listen, it's fine if you want to have a harem and stuff, but if this is not this kind of game, don't force it. It's just weird. Makes everybody feel weird that you're just sitting here and you and DM just flirting back and forth, or the DM trying to politely try to basically turn you down. It's just cringe. It's next level cringe. It's ugh, don't do that. Knight still insists with, I'm paraphrasing for the memory, "You're a lowborn wench, so you will sleep with me if I tell you to." Well, the DM warned him. The retainer says, "I cannot work under these conditions," and leaves together with the first retainer, leaving him with just the squire. Knight whines about the loss because now his background feature is left at 1/3 power, but eventually accepts the DM's ruling after he says, "You behave, you can hire other retainers when you return to your estate." We finish our rest, face the kobold necromancer, and slay it without much issue. Celebrations are had, and we divvy up some loot between us. It seems like a good spot to end the session, so we do a talk about the adventure so far. Everyone's liking it, except Knight. He complains that "you said sexual content isn't off the table," and the DM defends his rulings with, "Well, you can't bed just anyone and you can't use sexual harassment. Nobody's going to like that." It's very low energy bickering, but it seems like the only takeaway Knight has was the sexual content is still game, and Squire's booty is a valid target. This guy is cringe. This guy's cringe. I've nothing even to say. This is cringe. The guy's trying to really roleplay some sort of a sex fantasy at the table when nobody really wants it. Go watch hentai or something. Or I don't know, man. Play a sex game. You know, Steam has a lot of hentai games. You could totally play them. I wouldn't know from experience. Of course, I'm just, from experience of a friend. On comes session 2 a week later. We continue where we left off last time and travel to the nearest city. It becomes apparent that Rogue Cleric is starting to get something going on between them, and they had been doing roleplay along between sessions. The talk is more flirty. I guess that's all the encouragement Knight needs to finally try to get it on with his squire, but he comes on way too strong by saying stuff like, "Your duties include to polish my spear." But you use a sword, my lord. I'm talking about the other spear. Wink. Cringe. Obviously this doesn't go well, and the squire says, I'm of noble blood. I don't have to take this crap from you, and storm off. Knight complains yet again, and DM reminds him that he can't talk to women like that if he wants success. He can recruit replacement retainers later. The Knight sighs very loudly, but rolls with it. We decide to head to the tavern to get a drink and look for more commissions. I knew it was a really bad idea, but I wanted to see where this was going. The tavern wenches, right? Yes. I slap one of them on the ass when she walks by. You slap her on the butt and she spins around and slaps your face in return. This guy's just playing a Harem Simulator 2014. If you want this sort of game, at least go to the DM that can provide that sort of thing. Join a game where they have this sort of stuff, and that's what they're trying to run. Some sort of a grab-ass, slap-ass kind of game where you could just do whatever and bet whoever. But don't try to force your DM or other players to deal with your fetish weird nonsense. I don't care what you're trying to do. I don't care who you're trying to bet. This is weird. Stop. I guess that was the last drop, even though it should have been obvious what was going to happen. Knight starts yelling off about how unfair it is that the dwarf got a hot catgirl waifu, but he constantly got shut down by the DM, and now the DM is slinging him out and is giving misleading info. He specifically yelled, and I quote, "My character got the biggest set of blue balls. What do I need to do to get my dick sucked around here?" Oh my god, this guy's a character. At that point, DM just banned the guy from the server and kicked him out of the Roll20 campaign. It got less exciting with that guy gone, but I'm enjoying the group so far. We're still playing as a 3-man with an eye out for the 4th player. I hope y'all get your 4th player. A good riddance of the night. What a... Sometimes nights have like a special title. This is the title for this night, the Blue Ball Night. Don't try to force this sort of weird thing if you are part of a thing like that, or talk to the DM ahead of time, or look for, if you want a fetish game, look for groups like that that run that sort of thing. Don't force your fantasies just to be immediately executed right on the spot, because it's just weird, man. It's weird. And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.